everyone, this is Paul Gale from paulgalenetwork.com, and thank you for joining me today for video game sales. It is January 13th, 2022, and in today's video I'm going to share with you the Famitsu sales data that represents the hardware and software side of things in Japan, occupying that time frame of January 3rd through January 9th, 2022. First, we're going to take a look at the software. In the number one position, best-selling game of the week, Mario Party Superstars, moving 45,874 units. In second place, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, with 41,354 copies sold. In third, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, with 32,232 copies sold. In fourth is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, moving 32,195 units. In fifth is the Minecraft Nintendo Switch version with 22,110. In sixth is Big Brain Academy, Brain vs. Brain, selling 20,747 copies. In seventh is Animal Crossing New Horizons with 20,634 copies sold. In eighth is Momotaro Dentetsu, moving 18,069 copies. In ninth is Ring Fit Adventure with 17,875 copies sold. And in 10th is Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics, moving 10,510 units. Once again, this data represents only physical software sold in Japan, so no eShop data here. But if you look at the charts, it's first of all Nintendo Switch, the top 10. We'll find out later on about the top 30, but we do know for last week, Nintendo Switch did have a full top 30, which means that at least 5 weeks in 2021 were all top 30 Nintendo Switch best-selling games. And that's still a pretty significant record because if you think about it, from 1989 to 2021, there's always been a few platforms in the top 30 in Japan. Yeah, there's been different weeks, plenty of times where there are top 10 based off of one hardware, but top 30, there's always a mix till 2021. That's the first time in 32 years that things changed, and Nintendo Switch occupied at least 5 of those weeks, possibly 6th. But this chart is pretty telling. You've got strong Nintendo IP. You have Minecraft on there, still very powerful title from Microsoft Game Studios. The Nintendo Switch version, physical alone in Japan, is almost at 2.5 million. That's mind-blowing. What a success. We've got some evergreens on here like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, the very impressive Ring Fit Adventure, continuing to do well. That recently hit 30 million physical in Japan. Clubhouse Games popped up again. Not entirely new title either. So here's where the evergreens come in. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Momotaro Dentetsu, a third-party title from Konami. They've got to be pleased with that. And you have your newer games like Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, along with Mario Party Superstars. That, when you look at all of this, is definitely a big software year up ahead for Japan. I think that now, with there being more Nintendo Switch owners than ever in Japan, of course, because chronologically speaking, only more and more people are buying the system, we're going to have the biggest software year yet in Japan, and I think worldwide. The evergreens are still selling, the word of mouth is still strong, the Nintendo Switch ecosystem is still vibrant. Despite the console being almost 5 years old, most people that are buying one now don't feel like, I'm just buying a system because I can't buy a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X because they're sold out. So I'll begrudgingly buy this system that's probably going to die for the next 6 months. No, that's not the case. If you look at the software output for the year ahead, Pokemon Legends Arceus and Triangle Strategy, Kirby coming out in March, and Splatoon 3 and Bayonetta 3 and Advance Wars 1 and 2 reboot, and the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. It's a very strong year up ahead. Anyone that buys a Nintendo Switch now is guaranteed a lot of fun from the existing titles, which many of them you could find on discount, and a whole year's worth ahead, if not more, because we still have things like Metroid Prime 4 that are probably beyond 2022 of owning a vibrant system. And this is really strong. A lot of the new games coming out this year, I think, are going to be strong enough software sellers with multiple high million sellers on the system that, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this is the best software year yet. On the hardware side of things, I think that Nintendo Switch probably reached its peak in 2020, but 2022 is no slouch. Coming in at first place, the best-selling piece of hardware for the week was the Nintendo Switch with 148,691 units sold. PlayStation 5 at 10,677. The Nintendo 3DS with 609. The Xbox Series with 263. And PlayStation 4 at 15. You know, PS4 I don't expect to be tracked too much longer because at this point it's selling just a couple of dozen. However, with Sony announcing recently that due to how few PS5s they could ship and how high in demand they are, they're going to generate a little bit more on the PS4 side so that people that might be wanting a PlayStation 5 that held off on a PS4, which they've had at this point over 8 years that they could have purchased one, but let's say they held off, they could get a PS4 now at a pretty cheap price and still enjoy some cross-gen games that are coming out like God of War and Horizon, right? So maybe they will continue to track PS4, although I imagine that of that PS4 stock increase, probably more is going to go to the West, as I think Japan has kind of reached its saturation point when it comes to PlayStation 4 sales. And for that matter, PS5, I think it's going to sell far more than 1.2 million. Part of it is a stock problem, but even the hype, I don't see PS5 selling more than like 7.5 million. If it manages to sell, 10, that's fantastic because I think it's a great console, but Japan's interest in the PlayStation brand and home console brand is starting to go down per generation. So I think 7.5 million for PlayStation 5 is accurate at this time. But there are a couple of things of interest in here. On the PlayStation side of things, this is exactly what I said it was going to be. I came into some news about 5 weeks ago or so that over the next 4-week time frame, PlayStation 5 sales were going to be tenfold in Japan. And if you add this 10,677 to the cumulative total of the last 3 weeks worth, which was around 80,000, that's 90,000. That's exactly tenfold of the highest week of 9,000. That was like 7 weeks ago or so in Japan. So although it wasn't clear if that 10,000 to 90,000 range, that tenfold number was going to be represented over a couple of those weeks or all 4, and what exactly in that range would it end up with, it looks like it was exactly tenfold of 9,000, ended up being 90,000. So with Japan's holiday ending now, and this was going through the 9th of January, the 8th and 9th following final days of the holiday. It's a money giving and money spending holiday in Japan that takes place in the first of the year after the Christmas holiday and whatnot. We'll see if Sony continues this kind of stock going forward. A base of 10,000 a week wouldn't be bad. It still seems so laughable that that's how low their shipments are, but they have a priority to pump out more in the West, in the United States, the rest of North America, South America, Australia, and Europe. But 10,000 at least wouldn't be like laughably almost non-existent bad like 1,000. 1,000 is, it's almost what's the point at that point, but 10,000 is at least somewhat respectable given the shortage climate and stuff. I'm not saying, start dishing out 50,000 a week, although you could argue that they probably should, because even 50,000 wouldn't be a giant dent in the several 100,000 that they are pumping out every month. But hey, we won't go with 50. Let's just try to say 10 and be happy with that. If you look at what they gave last year, it was 11,164. So it's within that realm. On the Nintendo Switch side of things, that 148,000, that's a little bit down of last year's 167,000, but not by a horrible amount. 19,000 down isn't awful. I think the next couple of weeks are going to be down for Nintendo Switch, mostly because holidays are done, money spending, gift card influx is done, and there's probably going to be a little bit of a wait until reviews come out for Pokemon Legends Arceus, and then towards the end of the month, January 28th, that week, I expect Nintendo to dish out more stock because they're going to need a hardware bump on stores to meet the Pokemon Legends Arceus demand, which I fully expect is going to be a very high selling game, probably debut at over 1 million. My thoughts are that it's going to sell between 16 to 21 million lifetime. A lot of it's going to depend on how good of a quality release it is. You know, they cannot play up two versions, red and blue, gold and silver, diamond and pearl. You get this many Pokemon in this game, this many in this game. You could battle amongst each other. You have some people double dipping. The ones that don't double dip necessarily, you have friends that say, hey, I'm going to buy this title, you buy this title. Let's battle, let's trade. Strong multiplayer component. This time, it's mostly a single player experience. You have to have a good gameplay loop, make the game's visuals distinct per area that you're visiting, have fun combat, a strong challenge, maybe even a couple of challenging modes of difficulty, but if not, at least something that is suitable, fair enough for beginners, and appropriate for people that are looking for a meaty Pokemon challenge, you know, that are adults that grew up with the franchise. But a couple of weeks down, followed by an increase in January. And then as we get into March territory and April, I think that we're going to see another bump. The bump from Kirby won't be as big, I don't think, as Monster Hunter Rise in 2021 or Animal Crossing in 2020, but I fully expect that 2022 will surpass 2019. So as Nintendo Switch has gone up like this, I don't see this being too great of a drop. You know, still over 19 at the end of the day. 4.5 million hardware at the minimum. It could clear 5 again, maybe 5.2 at max. That's the 700,000 range. 3DS, hey, it managed to sell 609 units, which is more than it did last year at this point. Xbox Series sold 263, which is double of what it did last year at this point. And like I said, PlayStation 4 on its way out. If you look at the breakdown, the PS5 physical outsold the digital 8.8 to 1.8. That's 8,800 to 1,800. Xbox Series X over S. You have X a little over double of S. And then the Nintendo Switch OLED model reigns supreme with almost 80,000, the Lite at 29,000, and the base Nintendo Switch at 40,000. PS4, yeah, just the one model, which may include, but they just didn't break it down like is it a PS4, a Pro, a Slim. They just call it all 15. That's how little it is. It represents. And the 3DS line, which they call new 2DS XL, but this is, you know, 3DS, new 3DS, new 3DS XL, 2DS, 2DS XL, new 2DS XL, all of those wrapped into one. It's just not worth breaking down anymore like they do on the main new home console and portable console, hybrid console side of things. Yeah, 609 there. Pretty cool chart overall. I did say I have one more thing for you, and that is something kind of interesting, pretty cool. The Nintendo Switch now, lifetime sales at 254 weeks in Japan is at 23,264,118. 254 weeks launch aligned Nintendo 3DS plus Wii U is at 23,460,603. So you can see that there are less than 200,000 consoles apart between 3DS and Wii U combined in Japan versus Nintendo Switch just on its own. And Nintendo Switch is tracking higher each week. Going forward, I think is going to still be the same over what 3DS and Wii U did combined. So within a month or so, we're going to see that 3DS, Wii U below Nintendo Switch as a standalone machine, which occupies Nintendo's home console division and portable console division. Software selling the best, soon to be hardware selling more than the two combined. It's a terrific strategy from Nintendo's. And I hope that they continue with something similarly powerful of a marketplace leader position in the Nintendo Switch 2 life whenever that drops. But that's going to do it today for video game sales. Thank you for watching. As I said earlier, the other thing I had to say, I guess, was small note, but 2019 Nintendo Switch for that week was 83,136, and if you look at this week, you know, it certainly topped it. 83,000 last year, or sorry, 2019, 148,000 this year, 2022, 3 years later, a lot better. Will it beat 2020 and 2021 for the whole year? I don't think so, but it'll beat 19. I'm confident. All right, one more time then. Thank you for watching with me. Thank you, Chris1964 and the InstallBaseForum.com forums for making that chart look nice from the hardware and software side of things. Appreciate it. Hope you all have a good day, and I will see you next time for more video game sales. Bye, everybody.